Fathers podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice. If you are going through the family law court process, particularly as a father, then this podcast may be relevant to what you may experience. Some things we discuss in these episodes may be triggering, and if you suffer from any form of mental health related conditions or subject to domestic or family violence and need any assistance, then please call 1-800-RESPECT and Lifeline. The views and experiences discussed by people on our show are not necessarily the views and opinions of Broken Fathers podcast or their guest speakers. We strongly advise you seek your own independent legal and professional advice, as the Broken Fathers podcast will not be liable, answerable, or accountable for any loss or damage or litigation resulting from discussions on our platform. Right, this podcast is now in session. Hold on, guys. The judge is running late to court. So whilst we wait, I'd like to take this moment to acknowledge our platinum sponsor, Straight Up Construction. At Straight Up Construction, they take pride in delivering high-end work across every trade. From new builds to renovations, no job is too big or too small. Director Luke Miller and his dedicated team tackle every project with integrity, hard work, honesty, and a commitment to delivering superior quality results every time. Straight Up Construction is built on the belief that strong foundations matter just as much in the bones of a home as they do in the heart of one. Families should stand strong, and every loving parent should maintain their right to be a part of their children's lives. Straight Up Construction believes that in true Aussie spirit, everyone deserves a fair go. That's why we're proud to have Straight Up Construction as our platinum sponsor. With their support, we continue to produce the Broken Fathers podcast and shine a light on the struggles of men who have been let down by the system. Good morning, listeners and viewers, and welcome to another episode of the Broken Fathers podcast. On today's episode, I'm joined with Nick, a 50-year-old broken father from the Gold Coast who works in IT. He has 2 children and he faced a 16-month process in the family court. Mate, welcome.
Thanks, Jared. Great to be here.
Mate, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you taking time out of your day. Mate, like all my guests, before we jump into the circus or the negative vortex they call family court, I like to get to know a little bit about my guests, mate, where they're from, where they're born and where they grew up.
Sure, bro. Born in Tweed Heads, live on the Gold Coast for most of my life. Southern Gold Coast, mostly around Coolangatta, surfing and, being a lad. Moved to the Sunshine Coast when I was 10. Lived up there with my grandmother till I was 20 and then moved to Victoria for work.
Yeah, nice. Mate, where'd you go to school? Down Tweed?
At Coolangatta.
Cooley, yep.
Yeah.
Good spot down there.
Yeah, it is good.
Yeah.
It was a bit different when I was younger.
A bit rougher down there, wasn't it, back in the day?
Back in the day, yeah. It was back in the day. There was a lot of heroin.
Oh, really?
There was a lot of ghosts walking around on
the
Skag. Yeah. Funnily enough, but a deadly place to grow up. Of course, the beach was right there. Beautiful place, and it was a backwater back in the day. Yeah, which is interesting. And then the Sunshine Coast, alternatively, was even more so. So I had to find work, decent work. And back in the day on the Sunshine Coast, it was like you did everything to leave.
Yeah.
It seems real weird because there was nothing there.
Yeah, there's nothing there, yeah.
There was nothing there. So now it's not the opposite of that, of course, but decent work was either tradie or hospitality.
Yeah, okay.
So if you didn't want to do those things, you had to pretty much go.
Mate, what was life growing up like? Siblings, mum and dad, still together?
Yeah. So mum and dad split up, and they both alternatively sort of ended up down in Victoria because they had their partners and links down to that area. But I grew up as a teenager with my grandmother, and my brothers and sisters. I've got 2 brothers and 2 sisters, some in Queensland, some in Victoria, all going well. They've had their time in the sun with relationships and this process as well.
Your parents amicable split?
No, I wouldn't think so. Yeah.
They both moved to Victoria, did you say?
Yeah. And it's funny when you're, up here and that sort of thing, Victoria has that remarkable contrast. So it's people find it interesting if if Southeast Queensland doesn't have what they want, Melbourne has.
Vice versa.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, mate, you finished school. What was life? Where'd you go to from there when you finished school, work-wise?
Yeah, so I started doing nursing, Nambour Hospital. Yeah, so that's when one, it was a bit weird to be a nurse.
Yeah.
But I just got into it because my parents were both nurses, and then I sort of realised it was going to be 3 years training, and then another. You know, when you're an 18-year-old boy, I was just around, 40-plus-year-old women. I mean, not that, I like women, don't get me wrong, but when you're 18 and you're looking for adventure, and Nambour doesn't present itself as a fantastic place when you're 18 back in the 80s, so late 80s. I thought I had to get out. So what I did was I applied for every state and territory. Queensland had in the police. Queensland had a moratorium on recruiting because they just had a big ethical probe. And then I got into Victoria. And so I went to Victoria as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Do you rate it down there?
Oh, it was a culture shock, but I fell in love with Aussie rules. I played it down there.
Who do you go for?
I'm a Tigers man.
Tigers.
Yeah.
West Coast? No.
It's Richmond Tigers. And yeah, it was... I think I've got a lot of friends there. I think there's a lot of, as I say, the contrast is that you can have decent feeds and there's service and good grub.
Yeah.
Cause summer's fine, winter's terrible, and that put pressure on me to come home.
So you finished school, you head down to Victoria after Nambour nursing. And then how old were you about then? 21, 22?
No, I was 19.
Oh, 19.
Yeah, 19. When I went down there, did the police.
Yep. What was so what's the process for back then becoming a police officer?
It was I found it a bit easy, to be honest. It was 20 weeks at the police academy there. And then, I would say I cruised through that. And then
what's that involve? Like a lot of legislation?
Back in our day, Jared, it was
pistol drills.
Yeah, we're still climbing ropes.
True.
Yeah. We were still wrestling, boxing. It was like that sort of thing. There was a lot of drill. I don't think they do that anymore. Stacks, and then and there was legislation, but the legislation means nothing till you hit the streets. But yeah.
Oh, legislation kills me. I do it for show, border forces.
Yeah.
In one ear out the next.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Until you can see its application.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Mate, so you finish your 20 weeks, you get posted somewhere?
Yeah, I went to St Kilda, which was a bit of a real culture shock back then, as you can imagine. It was interesting. All the bad guys in Melbourne at that stage were in and around St Kilda because that was where the heroin was, and the bad guys all postured down at Bojangles and nightclubs like that. So
Bojangles. Where have I heard that?
From Chopper.
That's it. The movie. Yeah. The
So
nightclub.
Chopper was there. He was fading, but all the guys from that Underbelly series and that were there, and they were 10 times nastier than they were on the TV show.
Oh, true.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. There's a fair few unstable dudes that you had to deal with. And as a street cop, sometimes you didn't even deal with them. And I transferred to a place called Sunshine eventually, and that was policing on steroids. We were just completely outnumbered, no supervision, no resources, looking after the most vulnerable people in Melbourne, the western suburbs, because it's rough and guts out there.
Yeah.
That's where you learn your stripes for sure.
So what year we're talking here? What year was this?
That's back in 95.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit. I was 7. Mate, yep, so you do your time in St Kilda, then you go to Sunshine. Where to from here? General duties?
Yeah, I stayed general duties, and then I did a heap of detective work eventually, and then I got promoted to sergeant. So I was a sergeant for more period of time than I was a constable, senior constable. So I worked out in the Western District, and did my time out there, and it was challenging, and you learn a lot about yourself.
Mate, hey guys, just a quick shout out to our gold sponsors. MCH Industries are a mining maintenance specialist company supplying solutions to the coal mining industry in the Bowen Basin and regional New South Wales. They supply superintendents, supervisors, leading hands, diesel fitters, tyre fitters, auto electricians, HV electricians, and trade assistants to assist. The mining one-stop shop for mechanical trades. MCH Industries are always looking for good blokes to jump on the team, so check out their Instagram for more details. And Are you looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? There's only one name that's been leading the way for over 123 years, Ray White. Ray White isn't just another real estate brand. It's a family business built on ambition, trust, and leadership. Today, it stands as the largest real estate group in Australasia, connecting people with homes and investments across the country. Whether you're a first-time buyer, a seasoned investor, or looking for that perfect home, Ray White is committed to delivering authentic, local expertise. Because real estate isn't just about properties, it's about people, communities, and futures. And when it comes to trusted leadership, meet Alex Illian, an ex-Army veteran turned dedicated real estate agent. Alex knows what it means to serve, to strategize, and to get the job done. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just have questions, Alex is here to guide you every step of the way, servicing the Geelong, Bellarine, and Surf Coast areas. Ray White, the name you can trust in real estate. You're the first ex-cop I've had on.
Yep.
What you see today with the DV, like there's obviously an influx of DV, right? Was that a thing back then? Did you? I mean, I suppose you're not in today, so you couldn't compare. But I mean,
Yeah.
DVOs these days just seem to be handed out left, right, and centre, right?
Yeah.
Was that a thing back then? Like
It wasn't. That, I mean, you know, during my time in the police force, there was a change.
of the guard.
Changing in legislation, changing a focus to and it's a funny thing because when you we did some great work, you know, because post the police, my attitude towards how it was managed was very different. But at the time, you know, I felt very vocationally clear about protecting the vulnerable, women, children, and men for that matter, and there was a lot of processes that we put in place, you know, and even, you know, if I'm putting my police hat on here, the idea to address recidivism was to step in. But I must admit, the process has changed now to be a tick box process for the most, you know, in many cases. At the time back then, you know, we were stepping in and we were bringing the stick if we had to people who were intent on terrorising others. You know what I mean? So country policing is an interesting thing. You have to step in hard.
It's funny you say country police. When I went out to Blackbutt for a while, I mean, some army boys bought a avocado farm out there. But there was there was a copper that used to be, you know, I think he was in a task force down, one of the bikie task force for a long time. And he's at the back end of his career and got a cushy gig out the, you know, and fun. And he said, mate, apparently out of the country, like the locals on the piss at the pub, they'll go to the local cop at 2 a.m, like knocking on the door, come on, let's come out, have a one-on-one. He's like, what's going on here? Like, you know what I mean? So it sounds like the country is a bit more, even though it's a small town, is a bit more wild. It
is, mate. It is. The resources are you can't you can't rely on anyone to come and help you. Like I had situations working one up when I knew I had to, you know, if I stepped in and followed legislation, I probably would have been killed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right. You have to manage things. You have to
assess differently.
Yeah, you have to assess differently. You have to take a win if you can, and step away and go home if you have to. And I know that sounds weak. It's trust me, it's not.
Yeah.
The DV focus then, you know, probably went from a phase of wasn't managed well. You know, then the coroner probably in Victoria decided there was a risk, and then the police stepped in. And then I was probably, you know, I left in 2012. There was probably, it was starting to be handed out, and not probably case managed. So DV needs to be case managed. And if you really don't want the police to be going back every 5 minutes, you need referrals. You need to, but as I say, like I was, and this is part of my journey, Jared, I was vocationally committed to the protection of women and children and men, in brackets, because it's not done well. And protecting people was what I was all about. And I would go hard to make sure that people felt safe in their home. And I did that, you know, in all different ways, through legislation, through intimidation, whatever it took, you know, to say, I've got your number, buddy, if this keeps escalating. And I was committed to the process, and I worked with the recidivism people and did papers, stepped right in.
Yeah.
When I left, none of that mattered when it came to being dealt with by the police. And certainly being an ex-policeman did bring me into their focus rather than something that meant that I could have a decent conversation with someone to explain that there's nothing to see.
But yeah, because I actually I have a lot of cops follow me, and you know, some actually message me going, mate, thank you so much for like talking about this DV, because we're actually quite sick of dealing with it. And now I know there's genuine DV out there. This podcast isn't saying that I know there's genuine DV out there, but there's a lot of bullshit DVs getting put out, and they've messaged me going, thank you for doing it because we're sick of dealing with it. And you know, I want to know what powers. And you might not be able to answer this because you're not still in, but I want to know what powers a police officer has. Let's just say I come in, XYZ, he's XYZ, he did this, no evidence. What powers does a police officer have? Do they have powers to go, look, no evidence, I'm sorry, or do they have to oblige to go, well, look, here's an allegation, we have to follow through, we have to serve this, do with a DVO, TPO, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what power? I want to know the process. Can a police officer say, sorry, mate, because I've had one officer tell me, and I mean, I'm only going off what they told me, and people are probably going to blow up with what I'm about to say, but they told me that they knocked back this DVO and said, no,
no evidence.
No evidence. Yeah. Then got pressured from his OIC and said, no, put one on, we have a quota to meet.
Quota?
Now, I'm only got this, I can't prove this, this is just street gossip, that's all I've been told, but I'm just like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, if that's true, Jesus Christ. Yeah,
I haven't heard the quota. The thesis of it all is that the police are under enormous pressure to manage DV. So for QPS, because I've been around QPS in different environments since I've left VIC POL. The key focus, and of course this goes nationally, of course, but the key focus for QPS, as I understand, is DV. And managing mental illness in terms of time on the road, and both important things, absolutely important in the protection of people. Full stop. Close parenthesis. The idea. So going back to your first question, you know, in 1995, if someone came in and there's no evidence, a lady presented at the police station, I can guarantee she was shown the door. Yeah, you know what I mean. Things have changed obviously very considerably. And it's become, and whilst police care, I had a few that didn't when I was managing my own situation, strangely. But police actually do care, but they care. They also have to care about their family. So the reality is the risk in not taking out a DV order is greater than the considerations, reasonable considerations of. So on the balance of probabilities, they need to take out a DV so that they have, so that they can go home and go, I've done my job for the day, rightly or wrongly. And the rightly or wrongly is the issue. Are they impacting an individual who potentially might not have done anything wrong? Absolutely. On the balance of probabilities, there is DV, and this is the problem, and it goes back to the greater situation of, you know, the erosion of men in society, in Western society, and how they feel, and they're voiceless, and it gets very, very complicated. And it's probably something you've examined a little bit. But when police have a DV, it is easier for them, albeit paperwork, stress, statements, court. It is easier for them to take out the order than make a consideration around whether whether it's prudent. So the law is one thing, justice is the other, and police are selecting to, for the most part, their credit, but two, because they're managing their own individual risk and the individual risk of the police agency to take out the order, because if they don't, there's going to be problems. So it's clearly a complex issue that has enormous ramifications. Are they stepping in at times when they're not required to? Yes. Do they have to take out orders because the pressure is on them from command and everyone else? Absolutely. and it's almost like, there was in the police force, there's sort of non-discretional penalty notices, and it was mobile phones. This is in Victoria. There was mobile phones, seat belts, and speeds in 05. You can't say, well, you're a little bit drunk. You have to give out a ticket. So these things are now sort of gone beyond the discretional application of policing and your experience. They need to step in and take an order. How that works in application when there's people who have done nothing wrong, we know that that's the case. You and I know. I'm not saying I know from the police's perspective. They would know. But the focus on minimising risk by just doing that process is sort of like that's all that's in front of them as operational police.
My opinion is, another word, it's an arse covering task for them. And by that I mean, if it gets put in front of a judge, when you get served, the judge is always just going to go, I'm going to put one on them because I'm going to cover my ass, because if something does happen tomorrow, next week, I'm in trouble. So it's easy just to, put one on you and you guys sort in the background. Now, this is what a lot of people will know, but some people don't know. What it costs you as the person with the DVO, TPO, AVO, whichever state you're from, on you, what it costs you, your job, your mental state, your relationships, And so they need to put, in my opinion, a better system in place. For example, like I had a TPO put on me. Now, I like that term. When I say I like, it's temporary. It says temporary. The way it's temporary protection. We'll put a temporary on because we don't know what's going on. It's just temporary. Now, then you appeal it or thing, and then I think then it turns into a DVO if you're guilty or whatever. But I mean, apparently they hold the same weight. But let's just say, I think they need to change the system. For example, I'll give you a scenario. When they put a TP on me, they collect your gun licenses, they take your guns, you got to let your work know. Like if you're a cop, you get stood down, you got to put on a desk job. I was working for Australia Border Force at the time.
Oh.
Yeah, so if I was, I wasn't in a use of force job, but if I was. But what they should do is go this, okay, there's a temporary one on you. It's temporary. Inform your work, but you're not stood down. You still carry, it's temporary. Until you're found guilty, then we'll think, you can't just... They just get handed out too willy-nilly, and people are just losing their jobs, their careers, their relationships. And I say it in all my episodes. I'm guilty. I'll be the first person to put my hand up when I heard a guy had a DVR. I'm like, woman basher. I'm guilty. Now that it's happened to me, I'm like, whoa.
Absolutely.
Let's just hold on. There's two sides of the story here, and I'm guilty of doing it. So, I just think it's just, and I know. The story years ago, old mate burned his wife and kids in the car. Tragic. Don't wish that upon anyone. Don't wish it. No one wants that, right? No. But I think from what I've heard, I think that was the turning point where it was just like, righto, blanket everyone, just DVs everywhere, because we don't want that happening again. No one wants that happening again. I get it. Yeah. But, fuck, you can't just, he said this, boom, DVO, it's just
because the impact, and to be clear, I avoided that process, even though it was sort of being represented as something that my ex would do. But the thing is, what you're saying is right, and I think that process, having been part of this environment where there's broken fathers and what I understand is when that paper comes, that man his value is gone. If he just disappeared, that'd be fine with everyone, because their voice in that circumstance is no longer. So almost that piece of paper says to the individual that you're done, and you're not coming back. And it's almost society saying your value and your voice is not heard. And it's always that caveat that there are absolutely horrendous men doing awful things. Full stop. We get that. And there is no apology for violence towards women, children, or anyone for that matter. The process that we're talking about, unfortunately, just casts a man asunder. And for the most part, that's the journey. That piece of paper is the journey towards being alienated or separated from your children, and it's almost like that's the entry level of of the process that then sends you on that journey away from your children, your family, everything you knew, right? And that's the problem. And as you say, there's very little support in that service of that document to individuals. And it was funny because, you know, seeing that and being part of this environment where you're talking to other men, you know, I served AVOs on men. You know, I absolutely did. And I felt at the time completely justified. Not at one time did I ever think this is not right. But it's so different because I've seen it from both sides in terms of how it impacts people.
Every state, they call it something different, right?
AVOs, DVOs, IVOs.
But every state seems to call it something different.
What's whatever. In a word? Yeah, it's the same. It's all the same thing.
Another, and I don't know if this was a thing back then, but these days, you know, you can put a child's on the TPO, DVO, PI, and person of needed protection, or different terminology. And that's another thing, like there's a lot of fathers out there that can't see their kids, and because the ex-partners are putting the kids, and I'm sure there are some real cases out there. That's why it's in place. I get it. Yeah. But again, there's another way of milking the system. And when I talk about system, I talk about every system. There's guys milking the PTSD system in the milk. There's people learn the system, they milk it. And in this case, like, well, I'm going to get back at him, use a child's point, I'm going to put the child's name. The child can't speak, might be too young. And they'll put the child's name on the AVO, DVO, TPO, whatever. And all of a sudden the father's restricted from his child. And it's just like, it's just so frustrating because I get it. There's a reason why they have that in place because there's some real cases out there where the children, people need protection. But in other cases, it's just another advantage of restricting the father as, you know, payback. And
you know, the AVO thing we can talk to about that till the cows come home. It's like any process where, particularly in Australia, where it everything's catered to the lowest common denominator, and when police are making those considerations, they're under enormous pressure to apply that process individually and departmentally, right? And as you say, we always apply that disclaimer that it's required, and we need to protect people. Sadly, right? We need that intervention in that process. What happens, and certainly what happened to me in the separation. So I was working in New Guinea.
Yep.
With
the police?
No. Funnily enough, I was working with the RPNGC.
Okay.
Working with them.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a fantastic time. Yeah. But not in the police. Working away, and unbeknownst to me, my ex had decided to dissolve the relationship, and I didn't really have a lens on that. And then for me, it was difficult to speak to the kids at night. They were always in the shower, going to bed, at sport, whatever it was, and I could never speak to them. And I didn't realise that it was happening until it happened, and until my partner just left and I couldn't see the kids. And then it was a very, very uniquely hard time to. And I kept going back to work because working in New Guinea was a safe place. But it was funny because because I didn't know where the kids were, and I reported it to the police. And of course, that's when I found out that, you know, my voice was not to be heard.
Yeah.
And that in fact there was people in the police station there that didn't like me and never met me. How does that work? I was going to see the kids at school, but because I was in such fear of AVOs and things coming my way, I didn't even interact with them. And the headmaster would let me go and talk to see the kids from afar. It was heartbreaking shit.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
But that's how it happened. So I was away, and then and this is the thing. Like, I was paying for everything. You know, I was committing to overtime, and I was in New Guinea. I just wanted to be home with the kids, but I knew that I needed to make money for them so they could play sport, go to private school, Catholic school, and then have a good life. But in that commitment that I was making, there was plans afoot that I didn't know anything about. And then when the day came and they left, you know, it's a bit of a rock bottom moment because you sort of think, oh, I don't know where they are. I didn't realise my marriage was about to end. Can't see my children. And you go through those weird phases, Jared. Like, I remember thinking, you know, when they first left, I was like, it's dinner time. What are they eating? Normally they'd be here. I'd be putting them into their pajamas and all that, you know, that horrible moment of that, you know, on reflection, they're the saddest moments. You go, I cared so much for my children that, you know, this time of night I'd be reading them a bedtime story, but now I can't.
Just like that.
Yeah, and it's just like that. Yeah.
Real quick, mate, just pause there, before we get to go any further. Before you went to New Guinea, you tied up in with VIC POL. So your general duties to become a detective, and then what made you resign?
I was probably keen just to bring my wife and children back to an environment that was sort of, you know, with the sunshine. I mean, I loved Coolangatta, always wanted to go home, and that was the process. It just went home, and it was tricky to leave the cops because I'd been in it for such a long time. But it's not a decision I regret. I think it gave me 10 years back of my life, yeah, for sure.
And then from there you went to New Guinea after leaving the cops?
Yeah, worked up there, had a great time, worked up there for nearly 5 years.
And what were you doing there? Like
sort of GRC, security roles.
Yep,
that sort of thing. Was security risk advisor, GRC.
Yep.
Met the most amazing people from other agencies, including, you know, the AIF and Australian Army, the corrections.
What years were you there? What year was that?
I think it was 2014 to 2018 to 2019.
Yeah, I was there 2015. Yeah, but we would have crossed paths.
Might have been on the old P&G Air.
Yeah.
I reckon.
I used to go to the yacht club, train at the gym down there. You know the gym under the yacht club?
Yeah.
I used to train there.
Did you?
Yeah, I used to train there.
Nice one.
Yeah.
The old yacht club.
Yeah.
God love it.
Yeah. I think it was like the people I work for paid for my membership. I think it was like something crazy. 4,000 kina a year or something. I don't know. Don't quote me or something crazy. Yeah, mate. So you're in New Guinea, and then this all unfolds.
Yes.
So was you on a set roster, or just there for months on end, come back when you can?
No, it was a set roster. It was FIFO, but I was doing a lot of overtime. My wife then didn't work, and so, you know, it was important to make money.
And your kids were how old at the time? Teenagers?
No, my daughter. They were sort of. My daughter was finishing primary, going into secondary, and my son was in primary. Yep.
Okay, and then so you come home, things are on the rocks.
Yeah, it was hard.
How's it all unfold?
Yeah, so I had sort of the relationship wasn't great, and that was sad for me, and I would imagine sad for my ex-wife. But I didn't realise there was plans afoot to sort of just pull up. There was activate, and then when that activation came, when my ex took the kids, and I didn't know where they were, and she knew I was under pressure to make money, so I had to go back to New Guinea. But the everyone in our environment was kind of knew about it,
talking about it.
Yeah, and I was like, and also I'd been alienated, so that they'd done there'd been a sort of an applied approach to make sure that people thought I was rubbish. In at the sporting clubs and you know, in environments that I went into.
I hear this a lot.
And very few people sort of were able to go, no, Nick seems right to me. You know, there was very, very little of that. And then also when the messaging to neighbours, you know, friends, family, when it comes through, people just accept it. And that was one of my early difficulties. But so couldn't see the kids. Everyone had gone. I rang. At that time I had a reasonable relationship with my parents-in-law, and I was getting reasonable responses. You know, she'll come to her senses. She'll be back. And then all of a sudden, a friend of mine who worked at the police station, who I'd worked with in education over projects, he said, your ex is in here trying hard to get an AVO, and I thought that was great intel. But then it put the frighteners on me because you know you don't want an AVO.
Mate, I forgot to ask. I went tunnel vision down the old police questions. How long were you guys together for? Married together for so long?
Yeah,
Married
15 years. Married for 15 years.
and
Two kids.
together for how long before you were married?
Probably 18 months.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And during that 15 years, everything was sweet. There was never any hiccups during the time.
It was yeah. There
Standard
was,
little argument here and there.
Oh no, it was probably a bit more than
Oh, a
that.
bit
I
more,
think my ex was diagnosed with some mental health issues, and I, for the most part, always I almost felt like I was an unwanted carer. So I stepped in, did everything I possibly could to care for her, but then there was no thanks for doing this, and that was the relationship itself felt like that. Like, I'm caring for you, and I'm letting you, it's all about you. I'm making it that way, but can you just say thanks from time to time? It was almost like that.
Yeah.
That was the nature of my marriage, and I always felt resentful because there was never, if she's unwell, I'd look after the kids, make sure the house was clean, take the kids to school, and try and maintain my own sanity whilst I'm an operational policeman. It's not easy, and I always put myself last to support that. But all I ever wanted was, you're the best. I'll I just need something.
Yeah.
But there was nothing. So that's how I sort of summarised my marriage. There was very little gratitude for a lot of things, and she had obviously the challenges of raising children. Whilst she wasn't, she had imperfect mental health, and I can only imagine how difficult it was for her. But I was there to make it cohesive and make it work.
Yep.
But it was very, very difficult. And I remember saying to my sister at one stage, there's no safe place when it was in the cops. Under pressure at home, and then we're under pressure at work. The only time I'm not under pressure is the drive between those two locations.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And that starts to get to you.
Yeah, that's such a. There's nothing worse than when you're supposed to be going home to your safe place, like your time at your home, your safe haven, and you're going back and you're walking on eggshells, and like you said, the only free time is between work and home. Yeah, so.
And unfortunately, it sort of impedes the joy you have in raising your children, and you know what I mean. You're not that. And policing and service takes away your presence of mind anyway. So you're always in your own mind and not present because of the shit you've just dealt with, or the unseen risks that you think you're about to face again. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember going to work, and I just remember when I was, started the court process, and I just remember my supervisors talking to me, and I could see their mouth moving. I was not there. All I was thinking about my daughter. Where's my daughter? And I was just at work. I was there in the physical presence, I guess. Yeah. But I was a shell, and I just took 3 months off work, leave it. I said I can't be here. I'm not. Yeah, because it's a massive grieving process. And I think, so that was the marriage, and that was how it evolved. I just had a conversation with my partner one morning. She was my ex-wife, sorry. She was extraordinarily angry. So I said, I'll go and get a coffee. So to diffuse it, when I came back, they were going out the door. I think I'd come back a bit too quick. And my son was really confused, and it's a really saddening moment to think he didn't know what the hell was going on. But he's standing in the middle of the road, and I had this awful sense, fear for his safety. So I said, go. It'll be okay. And didn't see him for 14 months. And that was tough. Yeah. Mate, if we slow it down here, now that obviously we're going to start going through the process, how does court come into play? Do you both talk about it? Do you think about it? Do you file paperwork? Do you seek advice from someone? How does the whole court process go down?
It's funny because it just seemed to arrive. It was almost like somehow this is your only process to see your kids, and I didn't. Obviously I didn't realise it was going to be so expensive, so timely, so
taxing energy.
Oh
time.
Mate, absolutely. So to see the kids, I had a friend who was a lawyer in Tweed Heads, really great bloke who used to do some boxing training with at the PW at the police club there, and he said, mate, the only way you're going to get your kids back is through this court process. Now, he's right. In retrospect, I wouldn't have touched it, which is the strangest thing. But then I had a very good ex-police friend of mine I was working with on New Guinea, and he said, you have to, I was deciding how to step into it. And he said, if you don't do it, you'll feel like you're letting everyone down, When you do it, he goes, I'd put a cap on the time and effort. And he sort of said, here's your budget, which seemed extraordinary at the time when he was planning it for me, but that's where it got to. Here's your budget.
If you can solve it before then, great. If you breach it, just pull the pin.
They're just out, yeah. And then you can always say to your kids, I tried. So that process began, and I had very lovely family law court lawyers, and of course they're lovely. You're paying them, right?
And when you stop, they're not lovely anymore.
They're not as lovely anymore, that's for sure. But the process in that time, so I think in terms of a timeline, there was people I sort of very basically knew were the people that reached out to help me. So I had to get out of the house by virtue of dialogue with my ex parents-in-law. I left so that they could come back, and there was obviously no danger. No, absolutely. There was absolutely no thoughts of any violence towards my ex. The idea is abhorrent, right? Mm-hmm. But I needed to go. And there was a few people at that time, and it's a period of time where you're the man on fire, and who wants to deal with someone who's on fire? You're really at the worst. You're at your worst. You're at your weakest. You're at your most confused, and you're at the most sad. So you're full of sorrow and anger. And the people who can deal with you at that time, and I look back at the people who supported me at that time, and I don't speak to them now. That's not because I don't choose to, or I couldn't pick up the phone. It's because they saw me at such a horribly sad time in my life. I almost don't want to remind myself of it, and that's sad because they were the strongest for me. So I moved, lived in a shared accommodation with a guy south of the border there, and had some really great support. So the funny thing was, because I'd lost my children, my house, my family, and all that sort of thing, I actually got on Seek. And I was applying. I was about to apply for a job before I realised I still had a job, because I thought I had to just start again. So it's such a strange thing. Yeah. Honestly, I had a great job, a well-supported job, but I honestly thought it had been taken as well. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, it's such a good thing that you said that, because a lot of fathers listen to this, and they might be at the start of the process that you went down, and you know what. Knowing what I've known now, like for a perfect example, I had a lawyer on here a while ago. I haven't released his episode yet, and I said, do you have any advice for fathers? He said, listen, they're not going to agree with what I'm about to say, but if you're about to go down, if you're splitting up and something good, he said, just walk. He said, just walk, because if you're going to try and fight for your kids or the house and all that, you're going to get hijacked on emotions, and you're going to sell everything, and you're going to go down this emotional roller coaster, and you're just going to get sucked in, worse and worse. And he goes, now, a lot of you are going to tell me to F off, because, and I agree, I remember before I went down this road, I had mates say, don't waste your time. But when you're the driver in the driver's seat, you're like, no, I'll prove you wrong. I'm fighting for my kids. But they were right. And unfortunately, I'm going to tell fathers in the same position, and they're going to tell me exactly what I told them to fuck off. And I won't say anything, but unfortunately, fathers are going to have to go down this journey to find out the painful answer for themselves. That, you're up shit creek without a paddle. Now, some might get a good result, and I'm all for it. I hope you do. But unfortunately,
well, it's that key. It's the guy is actually saying something really unpopular, but like if I reflect on that
painful truth,
absolutely.
Yeah, so, and trying to tell a father to walk away from the kids, they're going to tell you to fuck off, and I get it,
totally.
But they're going to have to go down that taxing journey, financial journey, painful journey, mental journey, and realise, fuck, I shouldn't have done it. But like you said, if we didn't fight, we would have been umming and ahhing for the rest of life going, fuck, but what if I did? But what if I did?
Or what do they think?
What do they think? But you know what? Find the positive. We did try. Unfortunately, we came off second best. But at least we can put our head on the pillow and I go, well, I tried.
I tried, absolutely, yeah. And the guy in New Guinea, when he gave me that advice, it was almost like, and he was saying, go try to a point. invest to a point. And even that was like, felt contrary to what you feel like you should do, but it was the best advice I had. And it was almost like the dollar value that he said I'd get to, it was almost like he manifested it for me, because I did stop.
At that point, yeah.
Because I realised it wasn't working. Yeah. I think, like, in terms of a timeline, there's and I think this is really important to talk about, there's a time when this catastrophic time comes for men, there is two choices at that time. And, you will know yourself, and if there's a message that I can impart, and what happened to come to that decision to stand or fall. My brother, who obviously cares for me, he said, call this mob, and they're no longer a funded agency, and you'll understand why when I tell you. And it was like, give them a call. They're free for fathers, and they counsel. So I rang up, and they said, no worries, we'll get so-and-so to give you a call. He gave me a call, and I remember it so very, very clearly, standing there at Benora Point in a sunny afternoon. He said, oh, how's it going? What's happening? And I told him what was happening. Couldn't see the kids, and it was fucked, and no one's helping me, and, I just feel voiceless, and I don't know what to do. And I don't know what to do is, please help. You're there to help me. What's your next move for me? And he said, oh, I'll just share with you what I did. I went and moved in with my parents. I was like, well, I can't do that, too old for that. And I had like 6 months just on the piss. I was like, right, where's this going? And then I told everyone to get fucked, and it was everything I didn't need to hear. And it was almost like, and he mentioned that he was considering taking his own life. I was like, is this guy a counsellor or what? And it was so weird that I thought, if I sound like this guy ever, or act like this guy ever, do fucking shoot me. And from that point, it was like, I refuse. What they want you to do is fail. The courts want you to fail. Everyone wants you to fail, whether it's as men or gender specific, I don't know. But there is definitely a Y intersection that says, come with us and be a fuckhead and completely fail your children and just fall apart, or stand up in this circumstance. And I had some uniquely strong help. And the other thing that made me move in the right direction, Jared, and if this offers some help to guys out there, my sister was a hospice psychologist. So imagine that for a job.
Yeah. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I know. And she said to me, and she said, and I said, look, I'm struggling. I'm really struggling. When I'm not at work, I just fall apart. Like I feel useless, and I can't stand. I want to stay in bed, and that's it. And you'll get that, and other blokes will get that. There's a point where you just go, I don't know what my next step is. And she said, write down, got up, write down, did the dishes. And it sounds so ridiculous. Write down, cleaned the house, write down, paid a bill, write down, half an hour walk. Unfortunately, you've got to claw back to a life, that. And I said, who are you giving that advice to in the hospice? And she said, a client, spoke to a client today. And I said, what, an old man or lady? And she said, a 7-year-old boy. I was like, giving that advice to a 7-year-old boy his prognosis is terrible. I have to get off my ass. It was such a moment of, oh my God, that advice is going to a 7-year-old boy. Get up, had shower, spoke to a friend, and I have to apply that system to me so I can get moving. And I thought, and those two things made me move in the right direction.
Yep.
And it's almost like you have to heal yourself from that point.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going on, but one of the weird processes that I applied was I used to drive from Benora into Kirra. And Kirra, not when there's cyclones and massive swell, but it can have a lagoon inside right on the beach.
Yep.
It's about waist deep every day. And I would go in there and walk up and down that lagoon for an hour going resilience, strength, forgiveness, gratitude. Mate, for an hour, I would mantra up and down that beach. And the bloke who owned the coffee shop at the time goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just trying to heal shit."
Yeah,
and, you know, he was an ex-serviceman.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, I think I get that."
Yeah.
And those little processes, and I wrote them down in an exercise book. And it's almost like you're starting from square one. And my advice to men is, and I came up with this, and you're a serviceman, so I hope this doesn't sort of go into your space, was like, you know, the Gallipoli, the Normandy, the Long Tan, I'm not doing that in this life. Where's my chance to stand up and be strong? It's this thing here. As unpalatable and as unpopular as you are, and as maligned as you are and cast out by society, people think you're rubbish when you haven't done anything wrong. And certainly processes like court and things like that. And I used to go, this is where I need to stand up. And it doesn't feel fun. It feels shit, because I want to scream and be heard and tell everyone to get fucked and have people listen to me. And no one wants to listen, as you know. And it's almost like, don't even try. And I'd go down, I was by myself, and I'd go down to Coolangatta take myself off to Top Noodle every Sunday, just try and put processes in place. And I'd see a dad being an ass to his kids, or parents being shit house to their kids, and it used to just really floor me, because I was a good dad. But the thing is, I was a good dad. I still am a good dad. It's just I don't see my children. It's fucking tough.
So during that 14 months, did she relocate someone? Did you know where they are? Was communication cut?
Yeah, so I knew where I was, but the idea of not being getting tangled up with the police was really front of mind. So I think the trap was set. So I didn't want to fall into it as much as I wanted to go see my children, and it's a uniquely strong thing. So I'd go and see them at school, and school was probably the first point where they go, yeah, we see there's a problem here, but you're not it. And so I was able to go and sort of look at the kids from a distance and see that they were getting awards and that. But it's heartbreaking, man. It's absolutely heartbreaking. Yeah.
Was the AVO ever get put in place finally? Did you get served with one during that time, or?
Yeah. So eventually there was one that came, it was very, very mild, because there was nothing to put into it. But it was a significant turning point in what I felt I was able to achieve, because up until that point I thought, for some part, I actually thought the relationship could get back together for the sake of the kids, and then that was clearly something that happened that meant that there, I didn't want to go back after that too. But I had a friend, a spy, at the police station, thank God. And he was like, he told me it was coming.
Trying to do that, yeah.
And he was, my ex was trying to get the kids on the AVO too.
Okay.
And he was a bit like, she's getting close, she's here every day, she's got people she's working with. And like, it was, that intel was amazing, but horrifying at the same time. And then that policeman actually said to me, such a good bloke, he said, there's people in his cop shop that want to get you. And I was like, I've never met them.
Yeah.
And I used to be like, because I'm an ex-cop, can't you see, the idea of brotherhood? It was almost more, and I think servicemen would probably find the same thing. It actually put you in more peril. It was like, well, he's he knows how to use a gun. Well, I'm not surrounded by an arsenal of guns I can go and grab. But clearly you're aggressive because you're an ex-policeman or an ex-soldier. What?
Yeah, a guy just, Big Chocky from, he's in Sydney, just shared one of my videos, and the amount of comments that say, yep, the typical using the ex-mil card in court, like they just love that. Like your family court, they're subpoenaing your military records. Here we go. Multiple deployments overseas, trained killer, can't be trusted or anything like this.
Like he's going to lose his mind.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
you just sit there and you're like, what does this have to do with anything?
No.
It's just, and like some ex-servicemen, they said they do the same for cops and, anyone else. trained in firearms, you know, has a license. Like, just like,
Yeah, I know.
it's yeah.
No,
And I warn veterans now. I said, listen, if you're in the army, be careful, because anything in your psych records you think is confidential, it's not. Because if you go family court, they subpoena it, it's all there.
yeah,
you know?
no, absolutely.
You know, and my psych records were clean anyway, but, you know, because if you ever want to go SAS, your records would be clean too. So, but doesn't matter. You know?
Yeah, the reflection that you're a resilient person in those environments, and that it's almost like a caveat to it. It's almost like he must be a nutcase because he went and was able to deal with those circumstances.
Yeah, well, one of the boys I know, he's commando. You know, back in when we were in, he was overseas just all the time. But, you know, relationship broke down, came back, and, you know, he's a specialist in interrogating. He must have been, you know, manipulating. He's just like, what? I was hardly even home. I was overseas all the time, paying the mortgage, paying the kids. Like,
Exactly.
You know, just,
Yeah,
you know. So
I'll share a really, and I think this is where. So I made that decision to move in the right direction, but there was a subsequent situation where and this is where I realised, and Alison Baden-Clay had just been killed, rest in peace, in Queensland. Really,
what was that one again? What was that
Alison
about?
Baden-Clay.
What was that about? The name rings a bell.
The husband killed her and threw her into off a bridge. Yeah. So rest in peace. Awful circumstance, but it's that was front of mind. It was an awful one, and time and place, and I was. At that stage, I was trying to establish dialogue with my ex to just talk things through, because I didn't know where the kids were, and there was anyway. So I saw her outside school, and I asked whether we could talk, and then I was concerned she's going to drive when she was really emotional. So I just reached in and took the keys out, and I said, "I'm not taking the keys to keep you here. I really need to establish some dialogue and make sure you're safe," because I actually at that time thought she was having an episode. I'd seen it before, and I actually rang 000 because of my concerns about her mental health. And that is, like, I wasn't adding grist to the mill. I knew she was having an episode. So she got on the horn and beeped, and people came out of their offices, and I was just standing at a distance. And then by the time she'd spoken to a few people, and somehow other people had come and spoke to her, then 3 or 4 men moved off and stood around me, because I was, she was that able to convey like something that, and I was like, "What's going on, guys? I'm waiting for the ambulance to come. My ex-partner needs, she needs some treatment. I'm holding her keys because I don't want her to drive." And in no way hostile or aggressive, but that situation and that little sort of microcosm of society that came out of the offices just assumed that I was going to be violent towards it, and people stood there. And because I stood there, they didn't do anything, their interest started to wane and they started wandering off. But a guy actually abused me.
True.
And he went back into his office. I'll never forget it. And that was, I realised, you know, I was fucked. Yeah. And I had no voice. Then the process began as the vortex that sucks you in, right? And the very first thing that happened was, so up until that point, I'd been broadly supported by my ex-mother-in-law. And she'd been trying to see the kids, and she couldn't see them. Anyway, we had a family law court hearing, and I was there with her. And it was the first one, and this sort of reflects the my naivety of the situation, was that I assumed that day a judge would go, "This is a load of crap, let this man see his kids." Like, I went with absolute surety that was going to happen. Right? Turned up to court with my mother-in-law, I might add, and my lawyer. No, I didn't have a lawyer. And the judge said, and so it was down at Lismore, the family law court. It's gross environment. It's horrible. Everyone's like freaking out. Yeah. Awful. And the judge said, you know, came up, went to the bar, the bench, and the judge said, "I don't have enough information on this. We're still waiting on information." And this was so we'd broken up 2 days before Christmas. This was April. And she said, I'll have to adjourn it to September. And I feel like I'm a reasonably robust person, Jared, but I actually just fell over.
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law and her partner picked me up, and I started crying because it was at that point I realised that it was just a completely foobar situation where I had no voice and that I wasn't going to see my children. And at that stage, I had that anxiety of not being around them. How are they getting to school? What are they having for lunch? All that shit that goes through your head. And anyway, I fell over and I went outside and I was crying. And then that's when I realised there's a community of people just being absolutely fucked. But I was surprised at its gender because there was 2 women came up to me and had said, which surprised me because at that point I thought there was only a male journey. 2 people said, I haven't seen my daughter for 14 months, haven't seen my son for 8 months. And then, it was 5 or 6 men said, fucking hang in there. I didn't realise, and that community rallied around me about people who were busted and needed and were there on that day to try and see their children. And then, in terms of what happened next was really weird. There was, everything went into this system, this process, and I'd get letters from people. I could barely keep up with it. And one of them was this was post the second hearing. So move forward to the second hearing. I'm working in New Guinea, trying to restore myself, I was doing 500 burpees every Sunday. I was trying to stay fit, and everything was focused on that self-focus. So when you're married and you're a dad, most of your focus is outward. But this time I realised I had to restore myself. So I was doing that, not in a selfish way, and I wasn't dating in that or anything at that stage. It was I just had no time. I just wanted to. It was almost like I wanted to make myself whole. So when the kids come back, the kids are going to come back like they went, perfectly happy to be around dad, and I'll be good to go again. That was my focus. But we ended up going to the second family law court. And I sent this judge an email eventually to say what a great thing. He clearly had looked at the file and went back to Lismore, and by that stage I was anticipating the same sort of thing, but I was hoping that something would happen. But I went with less expectation because I'd seen the horror show that the family law court was. He said, and my ex's lawyer, who just seemed to be too invested. Yeah. She said, we have grave concerns about the children's safety and all this sort of crap. And the judge said, and she said that I'd been looking at the kids at school from afar. And the judge said, fancy a man wants to see his children. And I was like, at that stage, just sort of half asleep, waiting for the blow. I was like, oh, that's a bit different. And he said, he's interested in their welfare and their schooling. And I was like, wow, bit of a shift here. And then he said, let this man see his children. I'll never forget it because it was the complete opposite of their previous experience. And it was like clearly
Same judge?
Different judge.
Different judge.
Different gender, I might add. Clearly he had read the file and the independent, I just remember he started dressing down my ex's lawyer. And the independent lady who was there to represent the children, she started actually physically moving along the bar table towards our side because he was like, this is the problem. This is one of the issues we've got is that this man hasn't been able to see his kids. Why? I can't see anything here. And then that process began. And whilst that was a call of celebration, that began the next phase of fucking enormous frustration because she didn't comply with...
court orders.
So that was September. There was an opportunity to see the kids that Christmas. So I had presents, had packed the car, I'd booked accommodation and surfers. And guess what? They didn't come.
Yeah, gut-wrenching, man.
And... so I spent 3 days at the Aegean and it was like I wasn't sure to be
Couldn't imagine that headspace.
It was a uniquely weird headspace where when I reflect back on that sort of thing, like I think I was just completely numb. Stayed at the Aegean for 3 days, went back, and it was the new reality was that the children were alienated from me, and that they didn't want to see me. Yeah. So what happened after that was sort of probably the most uniquely difficult situation was we went to it just feels so enormously humiliating. So I went to a location somewhere on the coast. I can't even remember what suburb it was. Pack Pines maybe.
Yep.
Where I had to go and see the kids. And so this is the first time in well over a year where I could see my children, spend time with my children. So I was waiting inside and I had gifts for them. And then I heard at the door my ex's voice. It sort of felt really odd because I hadn't spoken to her for such a long time. And then the kids came in, and then I had an hour with, really sadly, and it's compartmentalised because of the horror of it. 2 children. My son never even spoke, not one word, for an hour. And my daughter was really hostile and really questioning things and didn't want to be there. And these were children that loved me. And so that was very, very difficult. And there was another mother there was like, who was in another room where she was going through the same situation, but clearly was a bit more affable. And then the kids went and I was in shock. And I walked out and she'd finished with her kids and she was sitting in a room where she would have hurt. She had a hand over her face like that. Just like, that was... And the lady who facilitates that place, she said that was the worst, because she had to sit there. She goes, that was the worst, most horrid situation she'd seen, where a loving father had been just completely alienated from 2 children. And it's like anything. You would have seen things in your service, like I did in the police force and that, and I look back and it's one of the minions in your brain has put it in a T chest and put it right down back. But I at that point I really felt like being self-destructive with myself and just not being on earth. But there was another moment to be strong.
Was that at a supervision centre?
Yeah.
Yeah, mate. The photos, like it. Nothing in life's broken me. The family court hasn't broken me, but the topic within the family court was the supervised care, and oh man, the photos from my daughter from 8 months to 18 months is all in the same room like this, same background, same backdrop, first time walking, first time crawling, all the same, with signs that say no cameras allowed, and like just the synthetic environment, and it was just so gut wrenching. Like I remember that, like I try not to talk because I get so emotional, but just the photos, it triggers me. It fucking triggers all those. Any photo in that supervision centre triggers me. Having to get my parents on the court order because she said no, so they could visit their only grandchild. Like Dad's 29-year correctional officer now. He has to ask if he can walk to the toilet just. Yeah, I know. It's
and the synthetic environment, and I think 100%, Jared, and that would be very painful, mate. I can only imagine.
Yeah. And it's just a hot seat. You literally, I'm outside in the waiting area. There's a family father in here, and it's like, all right, you go, next one in. It's just a, it's just a hot seat. And then, it's would you, your ex has agreed to let you see your daughter on Christmas Eve, which never happened, but just so you know, it's public holiday, so it's double rate. It's $200 an hour. I tell guys, if you want to open a business, open a supervision centre, contact centre. You'll put 5-6 rooms in. There'll be one father in all of them.
Buy a house.
$100, $200 an hour per room. Boom, you do the math.
Absolutely.
And some supervisions are booked out. I can't get it. We're booked out. Like Jesus Christ. So.
I can only imagine. That. Your reflections on that is that's your only interactions. I think for me it was weird because at the end there was all those ladies reflecting on the horror that had just taken place And I didn't falter. I was just kept talking pleasantly, and it was fucking hard.
Yeah.
And then I heard my ex's voice when she picked him up, and I was just like, I don't know. It's just your mind starts blowing. That was bad. And then subsequently there was another family law court thing that I had to go through in Brisbane. And I went in and I spoke to the lady at the family law courts, and it was an assessor of some type.
Oh, family report writer?
Yeah, the family report writer.
And they watch you for half an hour with your child, and then they talk to you for an hour and a half, something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah. Synthetic environment again.
Extraordinarily synthetic environment. Yeah. So there was, so actually that with that, an elderly lady who did it, and she did a very, very positive one because my son didn't speak, and that was really sad. But my daughter talked to me about, she was hostile towards me. That she's like, but I need braces, Dad. Can you help me out? And like she wrote that, it's almost like the kid has been schooled to behave a certain way, but when she's authentic towards her father, she's completely normal. Anyway, she wrote a really positive report. Right, it was actually very, very negative towards my ex. It actually was the turning point where I could see where people were paying attention. But then there was this other environment where they got that report and then had to talk it through, and they made an assessment on it. And there was a much younger lady, and spoke to her, and everything was really positive. She goes, "Yep, this is great. I can see you're a great dad," and all this. I went back in after lunch, and the lady goes, "I don't think I can help you," and because my ex
manipulated her,
brainwashed her. Yeah, absolutely manipulated her,
twisted
it, and I realised, and I remember coming out of that court that day, and I'm ringing my brother and just going, this is just the most hopeless situation of all time, because my ex can manipulate. I don't know how she does it, but
does she have BPD?
What's that now?
Border personality disorder?
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she was diagnosed with it.
See, how do I? It's the same. It's the same common behaviour that I have other fathers on, including my ex. I say she can sell oil to an Arab in Dubai.
Absolutely.
I saw Igloo man, it's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, because the manipulative power of it.
Yep.
And anyway, so I guess the long and the short of it was that my mother, so that they were, my ex had created that fearful environment whereby the kids weren't playing sport, weren't doing anything, and barely going to school. No one was doing anything about it. So my mother-in-law said, who lived in Melbourne, said, I want you to let them shift so I can support them. Because if they stay put, their life is a horror show of just being indoors. And reluctantly, I just said, okay, because I knew that they had stopped participating in sport, society, school. The schools are ringing me saying, what are you doing about it? I can't help. And so I let them go, and they moved to Melbourne. So that was really hard. I took myself on a little holiday just to heal that. And then realised this is a different paradigm, but I realised I wasted money, and the family law court was never going to help me see the kids, and all that money had been a waste of time. Yeah. If I could have that money back, I would have never started that process.
Yeah, mate, I reckon that you would have just gone years on end and just probably wouldn't have got would have got the same result, which is a shit result, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I had a couple on here the other day, the episode will be on the future, quite well off. Him and his current wife still dealing with his old ex. He spent over $1 million in 5 years.
1 million?
Yep.
Wow.
And he said he really at the point goes, I'm just gonna have to throw the towel in. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep burning through money because the judge ordered him to go see the specialist, get this report. So he goes to the specialist, gets the report, comes back in 4 months. The report fully favours him. Great report, perfect.
Yeah.
And the judge goes, "No, I can't take this into account." Like what? You just told me to go see. This is the family court. It's a circus.
Yeah. So the reflection in the family court that we would have is that what your lawyer friend said. Like, there's money to be made in the family for lawyers in family law. They get that. The family lawyers that I had were incredibly supportive, but it cost me shitloads of money. I think I had the best of the best in the Southern Gold Coast, and she did a great job, and she humiliated.
Other side.
But it means nothing. You pay all that money just to have, I think in future I would have just probably stepped away, because the family law court environment is reflected as a non-acrimonious, an acrimonious environment to the kids. So I have to go to court today because of your dad, and it's shit for me. And when I come home, it's going to be shit for you because it's stressful. Well, I'm just trying to see my kids. And it was funny because people in the community would say, oh, it was a really nasty breakup. I never contributed at one point.
Yeah, that's right.
You know?
Yeah, I had a terrible situation with the family report writer, and believed everything that Mike said on the DV allegations, but I took it to DV trial and I won. But, the report was based off all the alleged DV. But, these family report writers, they hold such a big sway or impact in the thing.
Yeah.
They watch you for 30 minutes with your child in some synthetic environment and then dictate and have such a big play. Okay, I'll dictate whether you have a future with your daughter. It's just like, you know what I mean? It's just, and that's the only thing that went against me. I did everything the court asked, all the reports, everything was great. The one thing that went against me was her family report, which favoured my ex. But again, there's always glimpses of hope during my court process. The judge said, he goes, her legal team like, oh, but look at the family report. And I remember the judge saying, yeah, I did look at it, but just because she recommends the child goes back to doesn't mean I have to do it. Like, so
right.
It was kind of, I was like, okay, here we go. You know, like he goes, just because she says it doesn't mean I do that. Like, so, but yeah, again, there was when she breached court order, the judge ripped her, said, make sure don't ever breach my court order again. Yeah, the father will be getting cut. There's all these glimpses, but then the next time I went back, it was a kick in the teeth. And, she breached it again, but didn't do anything, and just. Yeah.
It bounces along, and I think, we talked in terms of the police having to take AVOs and that to manage risk. So they step in and engage their process, rightly or wrongly, for the most part rightly, sometimes wrongly. But the family law court manages risk by making it just keep going. You know what I mean? So, it's almost like if you've come into our environment, we're just going to bounce you around because the consequences of us getting it wrong are bad. Yep. So we're just going to keep this environment going for as long as if you want to play with the family law court, keep playing, but you'll get nothing out of it. If you want to step away from it, that's your call. But like whilst you're here, you play by our rules. But that judge's determination that day was crystal clear what he thought. And that was great, but just the alienation which took place after that, and I think the key parts of that entire journey for me are that your children are your identity, and as a caring husband, man, why our rights should not be diminished in terms of our ability to protect and provide and care for our children, and of course that it's tilted towards women. And I remember that Red Pill documentary came out. You ever seen
Red Pill, Blue Pill? What was it called? Red Pill, yeah. So vaguely.
The feminist lady who made a documentary and then unfortunately her whole premise had to shift towards men get it hard. And I remember seeing how the Australian media met her head on, and were actually almost abusive to her on air. And I thought, we're a bit voiceless here. If a feminist can't say men are doing it tough in these environments in terms of being, affected by violence and family law court and all those things, what hope do we have?
You're not talking about Bettina Arndt?
No, Bettina Arndt wrote some really strong articles in support of men around that time. Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
she did.
Yeah, we keep in touch. She's
right.
Yeah, she wants to come on. She's busy with some other stuff, but she's put me in a news article and has a lot of people referred to me. Yeah. Yeah. So.
No, she, because, I think it was the age of the Australian. I read a couple of her articles and they were very strongly in favour of equality.
She used to be feminist back in the day when feminist was like...
necessary.
But then she said it just went far too one side. She's like, oh, I'm out of this. Like, this is ridiculous.
So just in terms of that journey, it was funny because New Guinea gave me the opportunity to restore myself amongst really authentic people, like expats who were working up there, the locals. The work that we did was really important as well. Rewarding. And in an environment where it was challenging, but you know what it's like.
Had to be switched on. Yeah. Situational awareness, yeah.
Anyone who's worked in New Guinea said it was dangerous and nearly died. I can't wait to go back, Yeah. And so it was almost like a predetermined environment to get to strengthen me. When I came back to Australia, I was really keen on, I was frightened of emails. I was scared of police cars. I was petrified that my bank balance wouldn't survive. And I was obviously in enormous grief from not seeing my children. But it's sort of like I do see that whole period as being something that put me back on my feet. Now, I didn't see my children, and then there was, God love Victorian DHS. I got a phone call from them one day saying I couldn't see the kids.
Who did you get a phone call from?
The Victorian Department of Child Services.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
I'm here in Queensland.
Yeah.
And at that stage, I had orders to see them, and I was going to go see them. And I got off the phone. I was like, I don't even understand that. So she tried to apply that process down there with the new audience.
Yeah.
I rang up a lady there, and she said, I don't know anything about this. And I don't know anything about the call, but the number was from the Department of Health, Community Services, whatever. And I went down and saw my kids that weekend. But someone from there had been told to ring up and warn me off, visiting my children. And it wasn't, and my partner, who's now my wife, at the time said, fuck that. Don't be frightened off by that. Yeah. That's absolute bullshit, because all she's doing is manipulating a new audience in Victoria. And then we went down and saw the kids. And to this, I haven't got to the bottom of it, but I just think, how fucking dare they?
This interesting you say that. One of my guests that I had on, he similar. He got caught in the child safety. As soon as he walked in the room, this lady's just firing questions out, blah 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 blah, and he was sitting there for 5 minutes, and he's realised like, I know you from somewhere. She's like, no, you don't, and he's trying to work it out. She's firing questions, and he goes, hold on, I bet you at a barbecue. You're friends with my ex-wife.
Oh, you're kidding?
And the guy terminated. But you know what I mean? So you don't know who's friends with who. Oh, my friend's in this department. Can you
make a call?
Yeah, make a call. Like,
put the scares on him.
You know what I mean?
Or just
bluff him. Or yeah.
I'll never. Yeah. Anyway, so the games never stop. But for broken fathers out there, my children. I guess there was a point where I was disappointed with my children, because as children I still wanted them to rally and go, Dad's okay. But they were subject to the same person that I was. I'm a grown-ass man, and I was manipulated into a very narrow space of behaviours that meant I was only there to support her. The walking wage, I call myself, right? And I always expected, and this is going to sound weird and wrong, but I always imagined that my kids would go, fuck you, I'm going back to Dad's. It didn't happen. And I think there was too much of an expectation on two children who were confused by a process and manipulated by an adult. And I'm always very loath to reflect poorly on my ex. Like, I actually I don't do it for sport. But the fact that there were children involved and that she alienated them from me, that was the thing that was the most. Like, if you want to split up, that's fine. If you want to split up that way, that's fine. But you alienated my children from me. Now, I think for the most part, my daughter, who's 23, and I have a close relationship. But my son's brainwashing is going to be tough to say, but I'll use it. He's a long way, and he's an intelligent kid, but he is a long way away from reconciling what happened, because the brainwashing that she did on him as an 8-year-old will take a long time. But the quantum shift getting out of that relationship, I'm always very grateful for, because I think I would have just faded into and faded away and got old and hoped for death. You know, that's how awful it was. And that was great. But and the experiences in meeting people when you're at the ragged edge, like, you know, when I worked in New Guinea, there was a lot of, you know, servicemen, police who'd been through everything, and some ex-Kiwi commandos who, you know, talked me through stuff, not talking you down from the ledge, but like almost, you know. And the time I spent in New Guinea and here with people, and that's what I say. Some of them I can't even reach out to because I know I was at my worst. I don't want to relive that because, you know, they were people at that time. But without them, I probably wouldn't be here. So it's almost like those daily wins, but there's definitely hope. The idea that, and I think as men, what we want is equality. We want to be heard, and we want
a fair go.
Yeah, fair go. I see you, and and men will go a long way to see someone's point. So the relationship didn't work, you know, and maybe I didn't care as much as I should have, or whatever it is, right? But it's the leave the children alone, you know. Don't let them be part of that choice. This is your moment to show that you're a kind person. And actually, don't make the children part of it, part of your journey. And you know, I know, you know, my ex needed to have them on her side to support the victim that she was playing. She couldn't leave them out of it, so she took them along for that journey. But it was in retrospect, it was cruel. And the only reason I survived was that, you know, I had brothers and sisters that supported me, a community, like a work community, which supported me, which is astounding. You know, because as you know, like, you can just go to work and if no one knows your story, but people in New Guinea actually gave a shit. They exposed me to some faithful practices, like, you know, they're all very religious up there, and it was a bit like they'd always give me nuances of something that I could use. And then I committed to the journey to. It's almost like you hand that over and you know it's going to take time for your children to come back to you, but they will. And if they don't, you just got to prepare yourself for the day that they do, rather than just fade away. Because that, you know, I know of a lot of men who have just let go, rightly or wrongly. They've just said, "Fuck it, I can't do this anymore." And whether they stop providing for themselves, or they don't look after themselves and they get in abusive relationships again, or, you know, because they're out there, or they just give up. Our opportunity as men is to mend for the sake of our children.
Yeah, and I can see why fathers go down that road, because it's hard to get out of. Like, totally. You know, I was lucky. I knew it. When my daughter left, I knew I was going to have to find purpose. Otherwise, I would have come off the rails like, you know, many other fathers. Yeah. Easier said than done. What the fuck is my purpose?
Oh, yeah.
You know, I train, sure, I train. But, you know, like, what's the thing? And then someone, you know, went on Matty Morris's podcast, Your Limits, someone said, why don't you do your own family court? And I was like, fuck, you know what? Yeah, fucking oath. Like,
yeah, and it's a great purpose.
Yeah, now this is what's my purpose driving me, you know. But there'll always be a heartache, and I try and explain this to people that aren't in a position. Like, imagine having a headache or a migraine in your head, and it comes and goes. You can take some medication. Like, imagine a headache in your heart 24/7. You can't. There's no medication you can take. You know, you got to live your life. You got to live the rest of your life like that. You know, like, and you know, That's why I see fathers, and I understand, like, if they take their lives, or because it's a hard road to get out of. You know, it's very hard to get out of that road, because you're stuck in mud. You know, how am I gonna get out of this? You know, how am I gonna get up and drive myself in purpose? So,
oh, it's bloody hard. Yeah, and the thing is, like, you sort of you see the false summits too. Like, you know, when the judge said it's time to let this man see his children.
It doesn't happen.
It didn't happen. Then when it did happen, it was like it was everything but what I expected it should have been. You know, it was like a homecoming of caring for my children. Well, they came back to me, you know, very much not loving me. It was really tough. It was funny because I'd spent a weekend with the kids, and I was spoil them rotten. And then I went for a jog that night, and like I got to the top of Kira Hill, and I was like, I should have been ecstatic, but I was everything but. You know, it was so the false summits in that journey too. But
yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster. You know, there was times I walked in the court, I was like, this is it. Today is that I've got everything he's asked, everything, and then it's just like, nah, you know, come back in 3, 4, 5 months. Or, you know, I got sick of I need to err on the side of caution because there's a new allegation, and the allegation's, you know, disgusting. So, better err on the side until it's just.
Yeah, I know, and those circumstances that delve into that are really awful for men too. And unfortunately, I didn't. You know, the allegation, there was no allegation around my behaviour towards kids. Some of the themes were the way that the police. It's not QPS, by the way, because I lived on the other side of the border. Their behaviours were questionable, in terms of because I had an insight into some of the discussions that were happening at the police station, and that made me frightened. You know, and it's not nice to live in fear because I was scared of something that they're going to come and get me for some strange reason, and
it's not good.
That was bad. But the positives were my ability to work through with support from work. Like and I wouldn't say Wilson Security helped me, but the people who worked for that rather unique environment helped me. I think men have to be prepared to see what it's like at the bottom, but then push off the bottom and push back up. And
that's the hardest part, trying to push back up.
It is
when you hit rock bottom.
Oh, it is, yeah. And I felt there was a number of rock bottoms that took place, but mostly about the sense of worthlessness that I had, because being a father was very much my identity. When that's taken away from you, and the voicelessness. So going back to the footy club and that sort of thing, it was like, you're a piece of shit. So the poison that had been left everywhere too. But you know, and I have, but since then, like I'm now remarried.
Yep, nice.
I know I never thought that would happen. Not in a million years.
Especially after what you've been through, right?
Yeah, exactly. So a very supportive and loving new wife, and I never imagined that a relationship could be as so close.
Kids again? Did you have kids again?
No kids again. Yeah, no. We
thought about it.
Yeah. I've got my own business. So I've got 2 businesses. So I'm a PT.
Yep.
And I've got a lie detection business.
Yeah, I want to ask you questions about that.
Lie Detection Australia, quick plug.
Yeah.
So I've got those 2 businesses on the side, but I also work a substantive role in IT. So it's, I still feel like I'm fighting back, but I'm getting there.
And you talked to your daughter today?
Yeah,
reconnected.
I speak to my daughter probably a couple of times a week.
Son's still a work in progress?
Yeah, he's a work in progress. He's a very intelligent guy. He's doing a double degree, and so his days are full.
Yeah.
I think he's suspending his thoughts around his father to maybe a time when he can think about it.
Yeah, doing a double degree. Yeah, wouldn't have time to wipe your bum.
Yeah,
doing that.
Yeah, he's a smart dude. So I've restored my relationship with him, but that you know, you lose the time lost. I don't think you can even reflect on it because it's too hard. It's too hard.
Yeah,
you know, and I missed a good 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
In the end.
Yeah, I know how salty some fathers can get because I was salty once too. But you know, it's interesting. Like across all platforms, I've got like it's all 90% support, even from women. You know, every now and then I might get someone say, "What about the mum story?" I get it, whatever, you know. But I had one father that wanted to come on, and I heard his story, and I said, "I'll get back in touch with you." And then, you know, he's messaged me about a post one night, and you know, he shouldn't be posting army photos. That's intimidating, and I just thought, like, I was just speaking to you a couple of weeks ago. You wanted to come on, you know, and I was like, mate, what's the go with you? He goes, oh, why don't you just focus on making more money on your T-shirts? And I was like, mate, do you know what I'm doing? Like, do you know the effort I'm going to this to keep this podcast afloat? He's, you don't know what it's like. I haven't seen my daughter for 18 years, you know? Bro, I get it. Like, I'm sorry. And technically, I'm in the same boat. Like, I'm not at the 18. My daughter's overseas now. I won't see her probably for 18 years. Oh, but have you done that time yet? No, I haven't. But I'm already in the same boat as you.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
you know, like, and that's what I don't want to be. I don't want to be this guy, 18 years old, fuck you, fuck me, fuck the world. Like, and I get it. It's very easy to be stuck in that. You know, I don't want, if my daughter does come back at 18 years, I don't want her to come back and see this guy go, oh, fuck you, fuck. You know, and I go, you know what? Fuck, look at my dad. He's killing it.
Yeah.
He's been here waiting. He's doing the podcast, he's doing this, he's fit, you know? Yeah. That's the way I got to see her. It's shit. You know, I want to see her every day, but, you know, if she does come back, I want to see her see me striving up, being something, oh, fucking, you know, like, you know, so, but I get it. I'm not having to go. I mean, I get it.
Well, it's that two paths thing, and then you're entitled to be frustrated and sad, and like there's things that set me off, and you know I remember how I guess broken that I was. It was funny because I lived right near the bus depot down at Tweed Heads, and I used to see the buses say not in service. Yeah, I just think fuck, that's me. Yeah. For about 2 years, I was not in fucking service, man. Yeah. Like I was just holding on. It's
interesting now that I'm at the back end of it, still dealing with stuff with child support, but I look back now and I think, like, someone might say, oh, yeah, remember when you did this? I was like, did I say that? Like, I was obviously just a zombie those years. Yeah. You know, now that I've got some clarity, I can look back and I think, fuck, like I was just a zombie. Yeah, like, you know, and like people were concerned about my welfare. Obviously, I must have been saying some stuff that wasn't making sense, but at the time, you're just stuck in that mode. Like, but you know, now that I've come out the back end, looking back now, I was like, fuck, I wasn't functioning correctly. Like, you know,
not in service.
No, not in service. Yeah, mate. Well, let's address the PT thing real quick because I want to talk question about, like, you doing PT. Where you doing PT out of?
So I just train my own clients. I train myself personally at the Gold Coast Performance Centre. Runaway Bay.
Yeah, that's awesome. I only just discovered that.
Great gym.
Yeah, it's a hidden gem. That's like a monster gym that's hidden.
Outdoors,
got the pools, a running track.
Sick gym.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
And it's one of those gyms where the boys can't take in bags and powder and fucking set up and you know, it's
bipod, tripod leg.
No, it's none of that. Yeah. And it's you go to train. I mean, the closest thing I used to train down at the Tweed Heads police club, and that's the nearest thing I'd align it to. Mind you, it's a lot more modern. Yeah. But you get in and you train, and you don't be a dick, and there's a real community within that gym. Yeah. I do train at Empire. I've got no problem with Empire as well, but and I go to Empire for certain things, and that's good too. But like the Performance Centre, where there's a real community.
Yeah, I like that place. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, you should come up more.
Yeah. Mate, the lie detector. So how did this come about?
So a mate of mine in the police, quite a famous, well, not famous, but he's on TV at the moment. His name's Steve Van Apper, and he's on a show called The Hunters. I work with him closely. And
the one where they chase the no.
Well, they have like new information and they go and investigate it. And
I'm thinking of something else. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, they're trying to solve crimes. He reached out to me because, you know, I was looking to have a side hustle and a new business anyway. So he put me onto this program that's from a company called Converus, which is less advertised, but it's ex-CIA agents and some FBI agents. So it's out of Salt Lake City. Yep. And it's retina scan lie detection technology. It's the cutting edge, used broadly in the States, some parts of Europe, France. And it's like a very, very uniquely... So polygraph is outdated. It's sort of Cold War tech. It can be manipulated because it's heart rate, you know, all those, you know, heart rate and the rhythms of your heart and that sort of thing. It can be manipulated by the polygraph examiner. Not saying people do, but it can be. So if you don't like someone, you can always make the test go a certain way. But with retina scan technology, which is the cutting edge tech, it's cognitive load that's reflected through your retina. So and you look into an infrared retina scanner. It captures the data when you ask questions, and it's as good as 92% accurate, which is pretty good. You're starting to pull fingernails if you want more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I can tell if someone's lying too, so I sit next to them, and I'll watch them how they participate. But I've done a lot of tests now. I rate the technology. I honestly believe, and it has helped so many people. So a lot of it's fidelity. I've helped people in family law. So whilst it's not, so anything in family law beyond reason, you can use it in family law, but I've used it in these circumstances where people have gone, I didn't assault my daughter as alleged. I want to do this test.
Lie detector test, yeah.
So you do the lie detection test.
Judge didn't accept it?
No, what's happening is that in the family law court, because it's such a laboured system, it's like this. They go, okay, well, it's admissible in terms of does it add to the beyond reasonable, the balance of probabilities. So essentially the judge is going, he's paid X amount of money for this test. This is validated technology from a company in the States. Here's the result. And it's sort of like, and then the judge's assessments of the case, he'll go, he spent time and money on this. I'll have to give it some weight, Alternatively, there was a lady, we've had people who have been victims of crime. They've gone to the police station to report it and they've been turned away. They've come and done the test. And then when they go back into the police station and say, here, the police by and large go, they've spent money, time, there's an expert, there's a third party who could come in here and say, you're off your head if you don't take a report and start this investigation. So it adds weight to those circumstances. It's frequently used for infidelity, as you can imagine. But also I've done tests for theft. I've done it for all sorts of people. Doctors, people on the other side of the law, all sorts of people.
Yeah.
And it is a sensational tool to determine the facts of the matter.
So in regards to, do you have a couple or scenarios? So how does, obviously they both have to agree to it. Like it's like a court, you obviously get non-court related matters, right? Like, yeah. And someone might say, mate, is my wife cheating or is my husband cheating? Do you get stuff like that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So like for instance, yesterday, like the very last call I took last night was, I've been a girl, I've been accused of cheating. I need to prove to my partner I'm not cheating. So that's a common one.
Yep. Another
one might be a lady, the subsequent phone call before that, I've been accused of cheating. I want to prove to him that I haven't and then break up. So one of them's like, and just say, stick that in your pipe and smoke it. I can't help you anymore. The other one is like, I need the relationship and I want it to work. I've been faithful too. So there's different...
Have you ever got one that's backfired, as in like he thinks I'm cheating, let me do the test to prove it to him, and you've you've cheated?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how does it, do you have to inform them both at the same time or one, or I suppose it depends if they're coming together, who's paying? Like
yeah, so they nominate on a form who the results go to. Normally it's the person who's paying, right? But there's been times when there's absolutely been circumstances. A lady came in to prove that she'd been faithful. She failed the test. But the results weren't to be disclosed to her, and that was agreed. And I rang him up and said she's failed the test. So it's not great, and the risks behind it. I'm insured, and what they do with the results. Yeah. But for the most part.
But you know what? As hard as it's probably is to tell them the truth, upset old mate that is what you're probably going. You know what? I'm saving you. I'm actually helping you.
Yeah.
You know, like
most people, Jared, seriously.
Saving you down the road, like.
People see, and I say this quite seriously, lie detection saves you time and money.
Right.
Because you sort of go, I'm in a relationship and for 5 years, ever since that night, I've had my concerns. And these are the tests that come to me. And I go, do you want another 5 years of wondering about it and your relationship eroding, your health, your money, your relationships with your children, your presence of mind is so fucked now. Do you want it for another 5 years? No, do the test.
That's right, do it now.
Do it now.
Save yourself the hurdle in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years later.
One went back to 1984, the test I did. So there was an incident that they wanted to clear up. it's almost like the sad thing is it cleared it up. Nothing happened in 1984, but the whole time.
All those years of questioning, stress, doubt.
All those years have been going. I think she did something that night. She's denied it. Every time she denies it. And the other interesting one is when I've had, and men particularly do this one. So man thought his wife was cheating. They came in, I did the test, and she was like, I haven't cheated. I have not even thought about cheating, but for the last 5 years, that's all he thinks I've done. I was like, anyway. I knew she's going to pass the test. She did the test. She passed with flying colours, and I told him the results. And instead of being like, oh, that's a relief, that's good, great, let's go and have a nice dinner, he was disappointed.
Because he wanted to believe it?
He kind of,
He made plans maybe to go, hey, you failed, see you later on, you reckon?
So, there was two things. He had something cooking, and also his identity was wrapped up with his cheating bitch wife. She's a bitch. She's cheating on me.
He's told all his mates the last 5 years, but now he's wrong.
Oh, you're a champion. Your wife is a bitch. But he didn't want that result. And it was so strange. Like, he nearly cried. And I thought that was weird. So you get all sorts of weird and wonderful circumstances. But for the most part, like I did one on people's 10th wedding anniversary. They came in. Nice people, mate. Normal folk.
Passed.
I
was feeling it already. I was like, oh, no.
No, I was going to, and they didn't say it till the end. They go, oh, it's your 10th wedding anniversary. We didn't want to tell you, but, and she passed. But I've done ones where the man, there's accusations over both sexes naturally because men cheat a lot as well. Or both sexes do, unfortunately, but I've had ones where people have almost got like the lowest score with their partner sitting in the room. It's pretty bad. Yeah.
I wonder what their thought process is if they decide to go and do it knowing that they have done it. Do they think, all right, this is it. Maybe I don't care. I want to get it done out of the way. I'm over it now. Or maybe, I've got a good chance of winging it.
Yeah.
I wonder what they're...
So there's people, and men for the most part, will think that they can somehow beat it.
What's the ways of trying to get around a lie detecting test? Can you say?
Well, the thing with eye detect.
Oh, eye detect, yeah. Sorry, but the old school way.
Yeah, the old school.
What's the old school ways you could do it?
Like there was
breath rate.
Yeah, it was take Valium.
Oh, true.
Was one, or you could sort of blow the results by being over caffeinated, taking drugs. There was humming, all this sort of crap, and it's sort of you go that belongs in 1950.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm plugging my tech because I believe in it. It's the latest.
So how's the machine work?
So you look into you put your chin in on a chin
look
rest.
through like goggles.
Not goggles. They did think about that, but you look down into a retina scanner, which is on the laptop. So I program the question. So how it works is they come in, let's talk about it, and there's obviously that time where there's that horrible issue that you have to talk through. Sometimes people get emotional. The idea of getting it out is sort of part of the process. Fuck you. This is the question. I need to get to the bottom of this. Okay. And type it into the program, send it to the cloud, and then the test runs itself. So it's called a test proctor, and it runs the result. So it speaks to the person, and they have to click true or false, or yes or no. And it is. I can feel it when people lie because I'm sitting next to them, but the machine knows when they're lying, and it's so you actually can't beat the retina scanner because, as I explained to people, if you tell the truth, then the file that comes in your mind is just passed through, your retinas and your pupil. The load is not increased if you tell the truth. If you create a lie,
you're trying to think of something to.
It's a bit like
story.
The chef in the background has to
trying to cook up the scenario.
Yeah, exactly, cook up the scenario. And so so when the file comes to your mind and then to speak to, your retinas respond in a 40% a greater
delay.
Activity. A greater activity. So it's blink rate, your pupil dilation, your retinas, and so everything comes through your eyes in terms of what you're expressing, true, fact or fiction. It's really good. Yeah. It's very, very accurate.
Mate, if you're not busy already. I think when this episode drops, every father that's watching this is bringing their
Well, they should.
new partner.
Mate, they should. I've done a lot of tests. I did a few tests in Sydney for people that
Too high profile.
Yeah,
you won't be able to say that for you.
Quite high profile. Quite high profile people. Yeah, and
was it a good result? Bad? Awkward?
No, good. It was a good result.
Good.
Yeah. It was a good result. And I always test in sort of discreet locations. I don't like testing in office locations. Like this is
Perfect.
perfect, right? I tend to do it at hotels like the Holiday Inn or Crown and that sort of thing because people can come and go.
Yeah.
Get coffee. Travel all over Australia. Whilst Cyclone Alfred was on, I was in Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth, Launceston, Hobart.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So it was a big couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But the end result is, probably wouldn't have done that if I was still in one in the marriage and two in the headspace I was in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You enjoy it, but?
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, it's... sorry.
What if, I don't know if what if someone comes, you might not be able to answer this, don't feel you have to. What if someone comes in and says, mate, I think me partner's murdered this bloke back in 2002. One, do you go ahead and do it? And if you do it, it comes back. Are you obligated to call the police, or do you have to? You know what I mean? Like, or do you just not touch that? Don't go down that road.
I've had people say talk to in terms of trying to get out of quite serious assaults and that sort of thing. People who have done prison time and then wanted to clear their name. Some of them haven't. Most of them haven't gone ahead, but there's been a lot at stake with that. With that stuff, there's been the odd occasion where I sort of thought, that's an interesting one for the authorities. But I'm a consultant. I'm not saying I'm completely devoid to reaching out to the authorities, but for the most part, the idea of my services is confidential.
Yeah. Just give them an answer.
Yeah. If it was, and that's worked well with clients that I have. Some clients, I'd be loath to go to the authorities about anything that I didn't have a full picture of.
Yeah, okay.
But it's an interesting one. I'd probably reach out to Converis in the States. They'd have an ethics. Guideline.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the beauty of my service is the confidentiality of it. But certainly, if there's significant criminality involved with murder or something. I'd make an assessment.
Yeah. Interesting, mate. Mate, have we missed anything? I still got conclusion questions asked, but I want to make sure the family court, we missed anything.
Yeah, I think that there was a validation period there with that judge that day. I wrote him a letter, and of course I don't expect him to reply. If I'd had my time again, I'd take advice on how serious I wanted to go down that track because of its expense. And I think of terms of that money could have been spent on my children, or a new mortgage, or stabilising that situation. And you and I both know people who've gone into that vortex, are still in it, and can't see a way out of it. In the police, I was always told court is a court of law, not justice, if that makes any sense. So don't pretend that the family law court will dish out any justice for you because it doesn't come. I think there's some great outcomes sometimes, like mine eventually was.
Yep.
But it's an expensive vortex of pain. If you can expedite that process without going there, great. And then consider the age of your children and then set the clock and see if they will come back to you by osmosis.
Yeah, we got to predict the future, which will sort of let you know what cards to play, but unfortunately we don't have that capability.
Exactly, mate.
Well, mate, if you're happy, mate, I'll move on to these conclusion questions. What do you reckon?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jared.
That's all good. Mate, number one, you probably sort of just touched on them, but we'll ask you, mate. First question, any advice for fathers, knowing what you know now, would you have changed anything during the process?
I definitely would. I would not hit the roof to start with because a burning man is no good to anyone. So it's almost like, I've had and soldiers have told me this one. It's almost like you get your forward operating base in fucking order.
Yeah.
So your house where you live, pay your bills, get that shit squared away. And as I say, if there's no long tan in my life, if there's no Gallipoli, the moment to stand up was that moment. So my advice would be try, as unfair and unjust and wrong as it is, it's your moment to stand up. Because you're no good to anyone if you fall apart.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, how do we change the system? Family court system?
Who knows? Is there an appetite to change it? I can't see one, and that's the problem. And I think...
Do you think that when you say appetite from people on the ground like us or more parliament level?
Just more parliament level.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't know whether people are in a hurry to change it. I think as men...
and no one wants to touch it. I know Jackie Lambie, Pauline quite vocal, but no one wants to touch it.
Pauline's was actually good. Some of the things that she said were remarkably helpful, just seeing them in the press.
Yeah.
I did I worked in some security, and I heard Pauline talk to a group one day about family law, and she was really leaning in because she saw that it was damaging the health of her constituency.
I think, and I think maybe her son has been through thing, which is what, and that's a paternal grandparent. You get, I could be wrong, but I think that's how she got tied into it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Mate, funny one. You're on death row. The guard comes and asks you what you want for your final meal, drink, and dessert.
Shit, that is a good one.
Yeah.
Was it like the everlasting gobstopper? But,
you thinking home cooked meal or takeaway? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think home cooked. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether I want to die, but I don't know. If I could watch pizza and watch the footy, I'd be okay.
Yeah. What are you washing it down with? And a dessert?
Oh, dessert. Cheesecake.
Cheesecake, yeah.
Yeah, maybe a New York cheesecake. Lay off the carbs even at the last minute there.
Yep. What's this like? There's oven baked cheesecake. And what's the other one?
Yeah, New York and oven baked.
Yeah,
where there's no biscuit in there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, probably that. That'd do.
Mate, if you were in a room with every single person you'd met or interacted on this journey, who was the first person you'd be drawn to and why?
Oh,
yeah.
There's two. When it kicked, well, my current wife, I can't. I'd need to include her because of her ability to rebuild me as a man. She really has. With some emotion, I would say Daniel and Brett, Pino and Brett. You know who you are. Two guys who absolutely reached out at a time when I was fucking hopeless. And they both had their own issues and they barely fucking knew me. So, yeah, Daniel and Bretto.
Shout out.
Love you.
Yeah, beautiful. Mate, fifth question. What strategies or tips helped during the process that you could recommend to any listeners?
Try and compartmentalise the issue, as hard as that is, because the pain is extraordinary, and I've compartmentalised the pain now, as soldiers and cops do, and that sort of thing. It's very difficult to tap into the pain that I had at the time because it was so painful. But I would say compartmentalise it, value your work, and value yourself. And try not to be that Burning Man 24 hours a day. If you can seek solace in friends, but just keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah, that's it. Day by day.
Day by day. It's fucking hard.
Yeah, you're thinking. I was thinking week ahead, month ahead, and
yeah, and it's like you have control. So if you don't want to do the family law court because of the reasons we discussed, try and imagine that you do have some control, even if it's over yourself. Because I watched I watched Castaway when he talks about having no control over anything except taking his life. And it's like, yeah, I felt no control. But you actually do have control over your day, and imagine that you are moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, last one, and this affects everyone different depending where they're at in life and their journey and the age of the children, but any message for your children?
Yeah, it's a good one, right?
Yeah.
I'll leave the best to last.
Yeah.
But I never stopped trying. I never stopped loving you. I never stopped being your father, even though you weren't seeing me. And it's funny because I know that children think that you're not thinking of them, but I never stopped thinking of them, whether it was in New Guinea, at home, or when they shifted. I never stopped being your father. That's it.
Beautiful. Mate, well said. Mate, before I wrap up, mate, if anyone wants to reach out to you for either PT or the lie detecting test, how do they reach out to you on platforms?
Yeah, Lie Detection Australia has its own website, so Lie Detection Australia. You'll see a picture of me. And Van Beaunan Fitness is on Instagram.
How do you say it, Van?
Van Beaunan, so VANBOONEN.
Beautiful.
Fitness on Instagram. Support a broken father like you're doing too, brother.
Thank you, my man. Mate, yeah, mate, on behalf of the Broken Fathers podcast and all my listeners tuning in and watching, mate, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your day and coming on and sharing your story. I have no doubt that it's helped connect and even save some fathers out there that are watching and either facing the same hurdles you faced. And yeah, man, I'm wishing you and your current wife and your business nothing but good fortune and positive moving forward, mate.
Thanks, brother. Likewise, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Good man.
All the best.